You're skipping through an abandoned train car, trying not to make a sound when you see something that makes you freeze. A tall figure in a suit and a fedora is searching the carriage, and he's moving in ways that don't look right. His body bending at angles that shouldn't be possible. Then he finds what he's looking for. This is the Sniffer, the first real monster you encounter in Reanimal, and probably the most disturbing creature in the entire game. While the other monsters are twisted animals and giant beasts, the Sniffer is something else because he's human, or at least he used to be, and what he's become is far worse than any mutated sheep or spider creature. Today, we're going through everything about the Sniffer, what he does, what he might represent, and why he's so effective as a villain in Reanimal. Quick thing before we start, I'm at 7 subscribers right now, trying to reach 50 by the end of the month. So if you're into horror game content, then subscribing would help me out. The first thing you need to know is that he wasn't always called the Sniffer because according to the Reanimal artbook, his original name during development was the Tailor, and his early design was even more messed up. In the original concept, he wore the saggy naked skin of another person backwards, so the face was visible upside down on the back of his head. And even though they changed this for the final game, the core idea stayed the same since this is a creature obsessed with human skin. In the finished game, he's this tall, gangly figure with a head that's way too big, a face that's all lopsided and wrong, pale skin, and a mouth that's always hanging open, showing his teeth. He wears a dark fedora and a worn-out suit that makes him look like some twisted businessman, and one of his feet is actually flipped upside down, which explains why he walks with such a weird, uneven movement. But the really disturbing part is that he can crawl inside dead bodies and travel through them. You actually watch him do this early on in the game when his siblings follow him into a bathroom and see him climbing into a corpse's open stomach before disappearing completely inside. Then later, he busts out of a bloated body at a completely different location, which confirms that he uses corpses as some kind of fast travel system. That's why he always seems to be ahead of you no matter which direction you run, because he's not chasing you through normal paths, he's moving through the dead. Now, once you understand what his operation actually is, he becomes 10 times more horrifying because the Sniffer is the one who creates the skin suits. Throughout the first 2 chapters, you encounter these creatures called skins, which are exactly what they sound like. Hollow human bodies that have been emptied of everything except their skin, with no bones, no meat, no organs, just flat, empty husks that slither across the floor like snakes. Some of them just lie there dormant, while others are alive and will chase you until you're dead. The Sniffer makes these things by hunting people, skinning them, and somehow reanimating the empty husks into slithering monsters. And you see evidence of his work everywhere in the early chapters. In one area, you find him dragging bodies around in a briefcase while collecting more skins from dumpsters like he's doing some garbage collection. And in the flooded laundromat, you catch him ironing a skin like he's doing laundry, just smoothing out the wrinkles in human flesh while washing machines run in the background. In another room, you find bodies hanging above bathtubs on hooks while they drain and wait to be processed, and there are cages filled with people who are bloated and waiting their turn to become the next batch of skins. This isn't just a monster hunting children, this is an industrial operation where the Sniffer has turned skinning people into a routine, something he does with the same boring energy as someone doing household chores, and that's what makes him so disturbing. There is something about casualness that he uses to do this. One moment that really shows this is when he's chasing Hood through the forest in his ice cream truck. When he finally corners her, he doesn't immediately grab her. Instead, he steps out of the truck holding an ice cream cone and offers it to her like he's a friendly vendor. He holds it out for a moment, almost like he's trying to be normal, trying to copy human kindness, then he throws it aside and snatches her away. He remembers what humanity looks like, but he just can't do it anymore. The Sniffer is the main treat for the first 2 chapters, and your encounters with him get more intense as you go. The first glimpse of him is quick, where you just see him closing a gate and walking into a building with his briefcase without noticing you. Then shortly after, you follow him into a bathroom where you witness him crawling into that corpse and disappearing, which is your first hint that this creature doesn't follow normal rules of movement. The next big encounter happens in the train yard where he searches an old trolley car while you hide inside, and he's careful about it, checking every spot until he discovers Hood inside a briefcase, which sets up the chase for the next chapter. After that comes the forest chase, where his ice cream truck follows you through the trees with the jingle playing in the distance as your warning that he's coming, and you have to solve puzzles while staying ahead of the truck until it ends with Hood getting captured after the siblings jump into a ditch and she doesn't make it in time. The laundromat section is pure stealth, where the sniffer is ironing skins and you have to sneak past him by timing your movement to the washing machine cycles, since he can only hear you when the dryers aren't running, and if he spots you then your only option is to hide inside an empty dryer and hope he doesn't check it. Then comes the rescue mission, where you break into his operation to save Hood by sneaking through rooms filled with hanging bodies and cages of living victims, grabbing a crowbar from a corpse and freeing your friend while avoiding the sniffer as he patrols and touches his collection of bodies. The final fight happens when you steal his ice cream truck to escape, and he chases you down, climbs onto the vehicle and tries to grab you through the side while you're driving. You have to hit him with a crowbar until he loses his grip and falls under the wheels, while finally he ends the chase. But even after running over him, the game never confirms he's actually dead, because creatures like the sniffer don't go down that easily in Reanimal. Every monster in Reanimal is connected to the children's past according to the official game website, which says that fragments of the children's troubled past have been used as inspiration for their character design and for the monsters that now torment them. So what does the sniffer represent? The most popular theory is that he's some kind of authority figure, maybe child protective services or an orphanage worker. Think about it, he's dressed professionally in a suit, he follows routines and schedules, he hunts specifically for children, and he runs an operation with cages and processing systems. He's like a bureaucratic evil, someone who treats people as objects to be processed rather than humans to be cared for. The children in Reanimal are orphans who probably spent time in some kind of institution before or after the disaster that destroyed their island, and if that orphanage was abusive or cruel, then the sniffer could be a version of those memories, an authority figure who dehumanized them, turned into a literal monster who removes people's humanity by taking their skin. Another theory focuses on how he tries to copy normal human behavior. He wears human clothes, he offers ice cream like a regular vendor, and he does boring activities like ironing and collecting garbage. Some players think he represents someone who lost their humanity but desperately wants it back, going through the motions of normal life while doing horrible things because he's wearing a costume of normalcy that doesn't fit anymore. There's also a darker way to look at it. The sniffer creates skin by emptying people of everything that makes them human and bringing back what's left. And in a game about trauma and guilt, he could represent what suffering does to a person. It skins you, empties you, leaves you as something that looks human but isn't really alive inside anymore. The children have been through something terrible, and the sniffer is a physical version of what that kind of experience does to someone. Whatever he represents, the sniffer works because he's based in human horror rather than supernatural. The other monsters in Reanimal are clearly inhuman, like the giant sheep, the pelican, and the spider mother, but the sniffer is just a man, twisted and wrong, doing terrible things with the same energy as someone doing office work, and that's always scarier than any beast you can think of. Some questions about the sniffer stay unanswered, like whether he was always like this, or if the corruption of the island transformed him from a normal person to what he currently is, whether he's connected to the well and the ritual that the children performed, or maybe whether the upcoming DLC will explain where he came from. THQ Studios hasn't explained anything directly, and they probably never will, since that's their style, but that's part of what makes the sniffer work, because we know what he does without fully understanding why, and that gap is where the horror lives. He's the sniffer, and he's one of the most disturbing villains in recent horror games. Anyway, that's everything we know about the sniffer, and if you've got theories about what he represents and what he came from, or where he came from, then drop them in the comments, because I want to hear what other people think about this. And if you want more Reanimal content, I've got a full story explained video on the channel, plus more monster breakdowns coming soon. Subscribe if you don't want the sniffer to come for you.